Although we seldom think about it, our lifestyle is intimately connected with and highly dependent on agriculture. In this lecture, we will examine key concepts in spatial patterns in agricultural geographies to include spatial variations in agriculture, sustainable agriculture, and globalization. These topics are important to geography because of how and why the spatial patterns of agriculture have emerged and diffused in a global setting. Johann Heinrich von Thunen created a model to describe spatial variations in commercial agriculture. More specifically, he wanted to know how distance from the marketplace affected what was grown at farms, assuming that the quality of land is all the same. His study concluded that land use decisions are profit-maximizing decisions and that transportation costs determine how farmers can make the most profitable use of their land. Furthermore, he observed that farmers located near the market or city have low transportation costs and can afford to engage in more intensive agriculture than farmers farther away, creating rings of agricultural land use as shown in the diagram. The forestry ring provides one exception to this pattern. Timber, still needed for fuel and building in von Thunen's time, is a less intensive, low-value good that would not be profitable if transported long distances. His model shows two different scenarios with and without a river through the central city. There are a few environmental challenges that impact agriculture around the world. One is desertification, which is the creation of desert-like conditions in non-desert areas through human and/or environmental causes, such as overgrazing, drought, or overfarming an area close to these natural deserts, like the Sahara and the Gobi. Salinization, which is the accumulation of salts on or in the soil, is also another issue for agriculture. Salinization occurs when desert lands are subjected to extensive irrigation, like the Aral Sea. For more than 40 years, water has been diverted from the rivers that feed the Aral Sea in Central Asia to irrigate land for cotton and rice production. As a result, the lake has lost more than 60% of its water and has shrunk from over 65,000 square kilometers to less than half that size. In the process, the sea has been transformed from a fresh to saltwater environment. Satellite images illustrate the lake's reduction from 2000 to 2009 and relative to the shoreline in 1960. Soil from the exposed lake beds feeds salt particles and pesticide residues into dust storms. The resulting pollution has been linked to respiratory problems for those who live in the region. The lake's increased salinity reduces crop yields in the field that are irrigated with the diverted water. The environmental impacts from large-scale commercial farming have posed questions about the ability to provide for future generations. As a result, there is a growing interest in sustainable agriculture, which is farming practices that carefully manage natural resources and minimize adverse effects on the environment while maintaining farm profits. A few measures taken to conserve soil and water resources include the following. 1. Contour plowing, which follows the slopes in a field rather than cutting across them. 2. Strip cropping, which alternates the planting of row crops such as cotton with bands of sod crops such as alfalfa or soybeans. 3. Filter strips or buffer strips, which are belts of vegetation that surround fields and act to prevent runoff. And 4. No-till farming, which avoids agitating the soil with tractor-drawn implements that remove weeds, mix in fertilizers, or shape the soil for seeding, all of which can lead to erosion. The use of geographic tools can also help with farming sustainability. Precision agriculture employs the Global Positioning System, or GPS, and aerial imagery to measure and map the spatial variation in environmental conditions within a field. This helps farmers pinpoint exact locations of issues and can address them specifically. Organic farming, which is a farming system that promotes sustainable and biodiverse ecosystems and relies on natural ecological processes and cycles as opposed to synthetic inputs such as pesticides, is another expression of sustainable agriculture. The map shows the percentage of organic farming in Europe in 2008. Nearly 25% of all organically managed land is in Europe. The tiny country of Liechtenstein boasts the highest proportion, 29%, of all of its agricultural land used for organic farming, followed by Austria and Switzerland with 13 and 11% respectively. Globalization has also had an impact on agriculture. Here in the United States, we're able to buy produce from other countries around the world. However, this does not benefit everyone. Globalization of agricultural products creates significant challenges for poorer countries. Poor countries are very limited in the farming subsidies, while developed countries like the United States can afford to provide subsidies to American farmers and therefore cannot compete in the global market. The World Trade Organization seeks to make trade easier through the removal of tariffs and other policies to assist the poorer countries overcome this adversity. Globalization also affects diets. As westernization occurs, more and more people around the world are becoming meat eaters and therefore are contributing to nutrition transitions, which is the shift characterized by a decline in the consumption of rice and an increase in meat, wheat-based products, and convenience foods. In addition, developing countries have seen a rapid spread of supermarkets. This supermarket revolution affects the way that fruits and vegetables are grown and sold throughout the world. In 2008, the world experienced a spike in food prices that set in motion a global food crisis, and a smaller one in 2011 with record high prices. There were a mix of diverse factors that affected the grain markets. One, drought and other weather events. Two, higher oil prices, which increased the cost of fertilizers. Three, an increased production of biofuels, especially with the use of corn to produce ethanol, which diverted the farmers away from food production. And four, the rising demand for meat and grain. The chart shows the amount of grain needed to produce 2.2 pounds of meat or other animal product. One practice that could improve future food security at the household level is urban agriculture, a trend that is becoming very popular. Urban agriculture is the use of vacant lots, rooftops, balconies, and other spaces to raise food for household or neighborhood. The photo shows an example of urban agriculture in Istanbul, Turkey. Space devoted to urban agriculture are called bastanes in Turkey. These bastanes are next to the old city walls. Urban agriculture can be an important mechanism for improving nutrition and access to fresh produce among the urban poor. Please pause the video and answer the following. As the first agricultural revolution involved domesticating crops, the second revolution involved equipment innovations, and the third involved biotechnology, what could a fourth agricultural revolution involve? In your own words, using your text as a guide, be thorough and specific with your answer.